Hi, Leo. Welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your February 2024 tarot reading. Thanks to those of you who like, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, the Celtic cross spread as always, and I also pulled the 4 agreements and wisdom of the oracle card for you guys. We're actually going to start the reading off my role in astrology as we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, well, we have the sun. And at the time of recording this, the sun is just wrapping up its transit through Capricorn. It's about to move into Aquarius. So it'll be moving from your 6th house of health, work, daily routines into your 7th house of partnerships and relationships. All right, we have 10 and 10th house energy for you guys is Taurus. And astrologically speaking, we haven't had that full moon in your sign yet. But when we do, it's going to make an aspect with Jupiter, that's in Taurus, and then when we have the new moon in Aquarius around the 9th or so of February, that's going to make a square aspect with Uranus in Taurus. So definitely going to be a lot of energy activated in your 10th house this month. Oh, and if I didn't mention already, 10th house points to career and social status. And we have Aries. And Aries for you guys is your 9th house of philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, and we have the North Node there and Chiron there. So it's going to be a little more quiet there as far as, no crazy aspects with it for the most part, but definitely have some focus in that area of life too. All right, so with all that out of the way, we'll get started with the main spread. In the main situation position, we have the Queen of Swords, and squaring that, we have the Ten of Pentacles. So Virgo energy here and Libra energy here. So for some of you, there could be some discussions around getting things into balance around your finances. So let's say this is within a work dynamic, right? Maybe you're discussing a pay raise or possibly a promotion of some kind. Or let's say if this is in a one-to-one connection, right? You could just be discussing, hey, what are our long-term goals as a couple, right? Are we planning on moving in together? If we do, what are we planning on doing? Are we going to get a 3-bedroom house or just a small apartment? What's the deal, right? So there could be some discussions around long-term goals this month for you guys. Right, in the foundation position, we have the 10 of Wands. So yeah, it looks like you've probably been putting in a lot of work recently. So this could definitely be more of a work-related thing than a personal relationship. But yeah, either way, looks like this is saying that you've put in a lot of work, right? You might feel like you either achieved the goal already or very close to doing so. Maybe that's why you're at that point where like discussing, okay, well, what's next? Right. In the past position, we have the 4 of Pentacles. So for some of you, if this represents your energy directly, you could just be saying that maybe you've been holding back, right? Maybe you've been conserving your resources because you had a more long-term goal in mind, right? So maybe you were making what you viewed as short-term sacrifices for long-term benefit. So maybe that could be what that's pointing to. Now, if this is pointing more to someone else's energy, could just be saying that maybe that's the difficulty, right? So again, let's say if it's within a work environment where they might have been giving you an increase in your responsibilities at work, but not an increase in your pay, right? Now that you're like, okay, well, now that I've done these things successfully, we need to discuss where's that money to compensate for that, right? All right, in the present position, we have the 6 of Swords, so Aquarius energy here. Now, this could be saying that for some of you, depending on how that conversation goes, right, you might ultimately decide to part ways. Or if not that, maybe even just agree that temporarily you might need to go back to your respective corners, right? Figure out, take in everything that took place within the conversation and figure out what the next steps would be from there. Okay, in the near future position, we have the King of Pentacles. So this is actually Taurus energy here, which is, like we mentioned, your 10th house, which came up in the dice as well. So yeah, this could just be pointing to whatever the end result may be. It looks like it will end up ultimately working out in your favor. So like I said, whether it comes down to them maybe saying, okay, well, we have to, we see what you're saying, right? Yes, you put in a lot of work, this, that, and the other, right? So realistically, we have to reevaluate what we can and what we can't do, right? And they might tell you, okay, we'll come back, we'll reconvene on this in a couple weeks or something like that, right? And then, okay, they do. And then they let you know, okay, yeah, we'll be able to give you an increase. Or this could just be saying that if this is more a one-to-one relationship, right? Maybe you might find through that okay, yes, there actually is the potential for us to progress the connection, but looks like there might be a little bit of a bumpy ride first. All right, the position of your influence in the situation, we have the Death card. So yeah, this is Scorpio energy here. And if nothing else, to me, this points to, at the very least, you have a willingness to walk away, right? And sometimes when you do get to that point, that's what makes it a little easier to ask for what you want, right? When you reach a certain point of frustration with something, then you're like, well, you know what? At this point, I'm just ready to cut my losses. That could also be a great time to say, well, you know what? But before I do, like, hey, what's the worst that could happen, right? Let me ask them, hey, this is what I'd like, and see if they would be willing to accommodate that, right? So, yeah, this looks like this is just overall your mentality that's leading to these things being moved into place, because you're like, now that you've reached that point, there's like a lack of fear of consequence for asking for what you truly want. Right. In the environment position, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So this is actually a Jupiter energy here, which we did mention is in Taurus, which is your 10th house. So yeah, for a lot of you, this can be around career. And if that's the case, this does remind me of the fact that Jupiter was in retrograde for more or less the entire second half of 2023. So it could just be one of those things as it's gaining momentum, moving direct again, right? Now, maybe if there was things held up where you felt like, okay, this work I'm putting in is being unrewarded, now you might actually start to see tangible proof that it will be rewarded. All right, and hopes or fears position, we have Temperance. So this is Sagittarius energy here, and to me, this is more than anything, you're not, in what you're asking for, you're not being unreasonable, right? You're like, hey, I'm not asking you to give me the world here, but I'm saying, look, this is what I've done to this point. This is what I expect to get for that, right? And same thing if it's a romantic connection, right? Like, look, I'm not asking you to do all the heavy lifting here, but I want to know, like, realistically, where are we going, right? What's the goal here? How are we going to get there? So, it could just be one of those things, or maybe it's not the most exciting talks to have, but ultimately you view it as for the overall greater good. Right, in the outcome position, we have the moon. So for some of you, this could just be saying that maybe there will still be somewhat of a lack of clarity around the situations as we move toward the end of February. But again, keep in mind that for you guys, especially, there's going to be significant lunar cycles taking place over the next month. So like I said, we haven't had the full moon in Leo yet. It's coming up in a few days. So there's that. And there's the new moon in your opposite sign, which is going to be making significant aspects. And then toward the end of February, there's going to be that full moon in Virgo. So which is a money house for you guys. So especially if this is more around finances, there could definitely be some significant shifts happening during those times. So be on the lookout for those lunar cycles as pivotal points as far as energy shifting within the connection. Right, and bottom of the deck we have the King of Swords. So this is actually Aquarius energy, which is your opposite sign. So yeah, it could just be saying that there is that focus on partnerships, right? So we tend to think romantic connections first a lot of times when we hear partnerships, but it could also be business partnerships, right? So like, okay, hey, this is the time to talk these things through, right? Let's establish what's what. And even if it's more for you to say, well, look, if I'm not going to be compensated for this, then I would need someone else to we'd be able to delegate some of this work to other people, because this is way too much for me to take on for myself and not be compensated for it, right? So different ways the conversation could end up, but overall, like I said, it looks like will benefit you in the long run. Okay, moving on to your 4 agreements card, we have don't take anything personally, and it says embrace your freedom. Alright, it says you gain a huge amount of freedom when you take nothing personally. No spell can affect you regardless of how strong it may be. And if you live without fear, if you love, you will be happy with your life. So, definitely a positive message there. Hopefully that resonates with you. And it's interesting to read that part about freedom, because like I said, to me, that maybe calls back to what I was picking up on with the death card for you guys, to where you get to that point where you're like, well, you know what? I'm at the point where I'm willing to walk away from this thing, so there's nothing to lose, right? Then you end up asking for what you want. And at the minimum, you'll know where you stand, but for the majority of you, it looks like you will actually be getting a lot closer to what you want within the dynamics that you're currently in. All right. For your Wisdom Oracle card, we have Clean It Up. There's the artwork, and number is 21. So we'll see what this has to say. Okay, essential meanings says getting to the core of a situation, freedom from a burden, cleaning house, sweeping away what is no longer needed. The Oracle's message: ever feel so bogged down with emotional gunk that you can't think straight? Could you be surrounded by physical clutter in your home? Also, too much work, overwhelmed, time to clean house. Every item out of the way natters away at you. Every unresolved resentment, every comparison to others that leads to a sense of lack, takes up energetic space. Every unpaid bill just adds up to an unnecessary feeling of being overwhelmed. Now is the time to free yourself by energetically cleaning house. Just do it. Make room for the miracles that are lining up for you. So yeah, definitely a positive message there. And for some of you, even that Six of Swords energy, you could just be removing yourself from all of this chaos in general, right? To just take a breather. Be like, okay, let me hit the reset button here, come back feeling refreshed, and more able to tackle the goals for the month. The relationship message says, time to clear the air, take a look at your side of the street, and say what's on your mind. Sweep away the old stuff so that a spring breeze can flow through with new energy. It's the perfect time to do an inventory of your dynamics and see what's yours and what's not yours to clean up the relationship. Everyone brings some baggage. Sort through what you brought with you and let go of what is no longer needed. Become unencumbered and your relationship will flourish. Excuse me. So yeah, definitely a positive message there as well, where like I said, for some of you this could represent you having a discussion with your partner, like, hey, what's the goal here, right? Are we looking to be long term? Are we going to move in together, right? Are we going to get married? What's, depending on where you are in your current stage, that's the flavor of the conversations in general was, okay, what's next? So hopefully that resonated. The prosperity message says simple things like opening your mail, paying bills, sorting out your timetable, making lists, and getting organized is what this symbol means when it comes to your work. Make time for yourself, too. This card is a sign that you may be overburdened and overwhelmed. It's okay to say no. You'll prosper even more if you do. So yeah, the part about it's okay if you say no, you'll prosper even more if you do. Again, like I said, to me, calls back to that death card energy, to where you just feel like you've gotten to the point where maybe you have worked so hard to where you're now at that point of no return. Like, you know what? Whatever, I'm willing to cut my losses. And like I said, for a lot of you, that's going to embolden you to ask for what you want. And for a decent portion of you, it looks like you will get what you want. But even if you don't, then you're like, all right, well, you know what? Let me move on to something more beneficial for me, right? And what we see in the environment, position, and the near future looks like either way to benefit you. So, whatever resonates with you guys, we'll wrap up there. I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.